In the 1940s, two worlds collided, one dominated by war, the other by tradition. College football, a cornerstone of American culture and society, faced unprecedented challenges as World War II drew millions of young men from fields and stadiums to the front lines of battle. At the University of Michigan, the roar of the crowd was replaced by the echoes of wartime sacrifice. Young athletes traded in helmets for helmets of a different kind, leaving behind the dreams of gridiron glory for the call of duty. Yet, in the face of disruption, resilience emerged. Michigan football, like the nation, adapted, and in the years after the war, it came back roaring, stronger than ever. This is the story of how war transformed not only the game of college football, but also the University of Michigan. How a time of sacrifice and struggle laid the foundation for two of the greatest teams in Michigan history. From war to the gridiron, we are Michigan. As the United States entered World War II in 1941, the impact rippled through every aspect of American life, including college football. Over 16 million men and women served in the armed forces, with thousands of athletes trading their jerseys for military uniforms.
Yeah, World War II was indeed a completely different war than anything we had before. It affected the civilians much more than like World War I. They had a little bit of that when they had some bombing in England with the Germans with their big airships. But this was just totally different. They estimate that probably about 60 million people were killed, civilians and soldiers. The Soviet Union probably experienced the most, as the many civilians were killed there. The United States got into it when Japan attacked us in December of '41. We were not ready at all. We had maybe one division ready, and where the Germans were over 200 divisions. We were probably the size of an army like Sweden or something like that, completely unprepared. And it ended up, between the draft and all the volunteers, I think we had 16 million people in service at the height of it. And then, of course, with all these guys gone, we had Rosie the Riveter, the women. They built the planes, they built the tanks. And that was just totally different. Unbelievable. Plants like the River Rouge plant in Detroit turned out B-24 bombers and instead of cars. And they were turning out just an unbelievable amount. I forget exactly, but like one every so many hours. It was unbelievable. Another kind of a sad thing, of course, was the development of just tremendously more weapons and the bombing, terrific bombs, but then with the ultimate being the atomic bomb developed in July of '45 and then dropped on Hiroshima in August 6 and Nagasaki August 9. Terrible, and a lot of people condemn that, but it would have been worse probably if we had gone in to invade. The Japanese, it was in their code, they were honored the emperor and they would not surrender, as was evident in Okinawa, the last island before the main island of Japan. They wouldn't surrender. Even the civilians, they were jumping off the cliffs rather than surrender to the Americans. And this is what we would have run into when we attacked Japan. If we would have attacked Japan, they would have fought in the streets with brooms and shovels and whatnot. And I think as bad as the atomic bomb was, and it was terrible, I think we would have had a lot more casualties, of course, to Americans, but also to the Japanese if we had to invade them. So that was kind of the tragic end, and it really changed the world forever.
The Selective Service Act drained college campuses of their young men. Teams across the country struggled to field players. By 1942, 52 programs were suspended from action due to the war. By 1943, even Michigan Agricultural College, soon to be MSU, had canceled, but not Michigan. For many, football didn't disappear. It simply moved to a different stage. Military-based teams, such as the Iowa Pre-Flight School Seahawks and the Randolph Field Ramblers, became temporary powerhouses, featuring a mix of college stars and professionals who were serving their country. While military-based teams thrived, traditional college football programs faced extraordinary challenges. Rosters were depleted, filled with teenagers too young for the draft, and older men returning to school after injury or military discharge. Coaches had to be resourceful, often recruiting players from physical education classes or intramural teams just to field 11 men. Programs like LSU and Clemson saw their rosters drastically reduced, leading them to field teams with undergraduates or other creative player solutions. Clemson's 42 team had just 5 seniors on the roster and relied heavily on younger players. Similarly, LSU was one of only 4 SEC schools to field a team in 43, while others like Vanderbilt played informal schedules with just a handful of games. Football may have looked different during the war years, but it served as a powerful symbol. On college campuses, at military bases, and even overseas, the sport of football reminded Americans of home and the unity they were fighting to protect. And while the war created temporary disruptions, it also planted the seeds for an extraordinary transformation and comeback in the years to come. At the University of Michigan, the war years brought profound change. As athletes traded the gridiron for the battlefield, the Wolverines, like so many programs, struggled to adapt. But through ingenuity and perseverance, Michigan found a way to endure. Tom Harmon, Michigan's Golden Boy, exemplified the shift. After dazzling the nation as the 1940 Heisman Trophy winner, Michigan's first, Harmon joined the Army Air Corps. He survived being shot down during a bombing run over South America and returned home as both a war hero and a Michigan legend. Harmon wasn't alone. Dozens of Wolverines left Ann Arbor to serve, including All-American Bob Westfall. The losses weren't just numerical. They were emotional as the program's brightest stars were called away. Despite these challenges, Michigan football remained active. One key factor that helped Michigan stay competitive in football was the Navy's V-12 program, introduced in 1943. This initiative brought military trainees to campuses, allowing them to earn college degrees while preparing them for military service. For Michigan, it meant access to athletic talent from across the country, men who were both students and soldiers. The V-12 program allowed Michigan to field a team when so many schools couldn't. It introduced new talent to the Wolverines as well, like Elroy Crazy Legs Hirsch, who went on to become a football icon. One of the most pivotal moments during the war years was the 1945 showdown between Michigan and the Army Cadets. Army's dominance symbolized the strength of military football, but Michigan introduced a new innovation during this game, platoon football. Coach Fritz Kreisler's strategy of dividing players into offensive and defensive units revolutionized the sport and gave the Wolverines a fighting chance. Platoon football wasn't just a tactic, it was a solution born from necessity, a way to adapt to the physical and emotional toll of the war years. It was a glimpse of Michigan's resilience, even in the face of unprecedented challenges, like the Army Cadets. Through grit, innovation, and enduring spirit of its players, Michigan navigated the challenge of war. Football became more than a game. It became a testament to the perseverance of a university and its athletes, even in the darkest of times.
Yeah, post-war life just changed everything, of course. And then all of a sudden, we were coming out of the Depression in the 30s. And this kind of got us out of the Depression because of all the guys had to go fight in the war. Now, when it came back, millions of Americans came back. They weren't sure what they were going to do. Now, a lot of them went back, I think, as you mentioned, on that GI Bill. That gave them a lot of opportunity to go to college. And a lot of suburban communities sprung up with the help from the government, too. These guys built houses all over the place. And the economy just really, really took off. And it got us out of the Depression completely, and things just changed. And yeah, women were in the workforce a lot. That was, different back in the 30s, and that, women weren't basically working, but they got into it, and they were in it again. So, yeah, post-war was completely changed. And then, of course, in the 50s were the golden age. That's when Eisenhower was president, and we built all the interstates because he saw what the German Autobahn was, how we could make such good progress in Germany. So he wanted to build all interstates in the U.S., which he did. So, yeah, it was a changing. World War II was just a completely life-changing experience in so many ways. And, one of the big ways was civilians were involved. They weren't involved before. It was dangerous to be a civilian.
The GI Bill allowed veterans to enroll in college, many for the first time, creating a new wave of older, more mature athletes. These men brought discipline, resilience, and a broader perspective shaped by the trials of war. Michigan football found itself uniquely poised for success. Coach Fritz Kreisler had returned from the war years with a vision for rebuilding the Wolverines. He emphasized rigorous training and strategy, instilling in his players the precision and creativity that would define Michigan's dominance over the next few years. Kreisler's innovation came to life with the Mad Magicians, Michigan's 1947 team known for its deceptive play style and creative use of trick plays. The Mad Magicians captivated fans and confounded opponents, redefining what football could be. As mentioned before, Kreisler's platoon-style football was born from a game against Army in 1945. Michigan, composed mostly of freshmen due to a wartime rule change allowing freshmen to play, was poised to be demolished by the cadets. Kreisler took advantage of a different wartime rule change, which allowed free and substitution at any time during the game. Knowing that his men could not stand the test of time against the Army cadets, he split his team into offensive and defensive platoons. An innovation caused by a dire situation, Kreisler's misdirection was just beginning with platoons. The war also brought about a cultural shift. Football was no longer just a game for young men. It became a proving ground for those who had faced the ultimate test of endurance and courage out on the battlefield. This era marked the beginning of a crucial transformation in college football, the early steps towards racial integration. While some programs like Penn State broke down barriers by embracing players like Wally Triplett, Michigan was slower to change, which stunted their future growth. The return of veterans from diverse backgrounds created new pressures and opportunities for inclusion. Although Michigan benefited from the wave of post-war talent, it missed opportunities to lead in breaking down racial barriers, a tension that would continue to shape its legacy over the next few decades. But Michigan's resurgence for a few years was undeniable. Veterans like Bob Chappas and Bump Elliott returned with skills honed not only on the gridiron, but in life. Their maturity and focus became the backbone of Wolverine's success, pushing the team to greater heights. This new era of Michigan football was a testament to the resilience of the players, the vision of its coaches, and the spirit of a university ready to reclaim its place at the top of the college football world. The foundation was set, the stage was ready, and Michigan was set to rise once again. By 1947, the University of Michigan was ready to reclaim its place at the pinnacle of college football. The war was over, and the Wolverines emerged stronger, faster, and more innovative than ever. Led by coach Fritz Kreisler, Michigan was about to make history. The Wolverines stormed through the 1947 season, finishing with a perfect 10-0 record. Their offense earned national acclaim for its creativity and precision. The team averaged over 39 points per game, leaving opponents bewildered and their fans in awe. With the Mad Magicians, you never knew where the ball was, and every play was a puzzle for the defense. The Wolverines scored touchdown after touchdown, and man was that fun to watch. Bob Chappas, a veteran of World War II and a standout halfback, became the heart of the team. Known for his versatility, Chappas excelled as both a runner and a passer, finishing a close second in the Heisman Trophy voting and solidifying his place as one of the Michigan Wolverines' greatest players. The climax of the 1947 season came on New Year's Day, 1948, in the Rose Bowl. Facing the USC Trojans, Michigan delivered one of the most dominant performances in Rose Bowl history. By halftime, the Wolverines had built a commanding lead, and by the final whistle, they had secured a 49-0 victory. This victory not only capped a perfect season, but also cemented the Wolverines' claim as the rightful national champion. Despite Notre Dame being awarded the AP national title before the bowl games after the regular season, Michigan overwhelmingly won the Rose Bowl, and that swayed the public opinion, and they were retroactively crowned national champion by several polls. As Fritz Kreisler moved to athletic director in 1948, Benny Oosterbaan took the reins in 1948, inheriting a team brimming with confidence and talent. Building on the foundation Kreisler had laid, Oosterbaan led Michigan to another undefeated season and a second straight national championship in 1948. The 48 Wolverines were a team of balance and poise. Veterans like Pete Elliott brought leadership and maturity, while younger stars carried forward the innovative spirit of the Mad Magicians. Michigan dominated its opponents, proving that their success was no fluke. Back-to-back national championships solidified Michigan's place in college football history during this time period. The Wolverines not only dominated the gridiron, but also symbolized the post-war resurgence of American sports. The national championships of 1947 and 1948 marked a golden era for Michigan football, a shatter point of innovation, resilience, and determination of the post-war generation. But their impact reached far beyond just the gridiron.
The post-war years transformed college football into a national phenomenon. The lessons learned during the war, platoon football, strategic innovation, and the need for discipline became staples of the modern game. The economic boom set up the growth of college football, a victory for everyone. All of these victories also reflected broader societal changes. The GI Bill not only rebuilt college football, but it also reshaped American higher education, creating opportunities for veterans to lead on and off the field. At Michigan, the influx of these veterans brought maturity, leadership to every aspect of campus life. These men, forged through war, set the tone for a new era of excellence. Some would say the greatest generation. But the post-war boom also highlighted challenges that Michigan and other programs faced. While schools like Penn State began to integrate their rosters with players like Wally Triplett, Michigan remained slower to embrace this change. The reluctance to integrate was a missed opportunity to lead in changing America. As football moved towards becoming a more inclusive sport, Michigan's achievements were both a triumph and a reminder of those barriers that still needed to be broken down. Over the decades, Michigan has evolved, building on its legacy as a football powerhouse while striving to reflect the values of a diverse and inclusive university. The lessons of the post-war era, resilience, innovation, and unity, continue to inspire generations of Wolverines. The legacy of Michigan's 1947 and 1948 teams is more than just their championships. It's a story of perseverance in the face of war, of innovation in the face of challenge, and of the university's role in shaping the sport that we love today. From war-torn battlefields to the glory of the gridiron, Michigan football proved that greatness is born from perseverance, and legends are forged when we rise to meet history's greatest challenges. This was From the War to the Gridiron. We are Michigan.